Today, we have Brooklyn Albers' interview with Frank Huth. Frank was stationed in Germany and was part of a mobile medical unit during the Vietnam era.
I am Brooklyn Albers, and I had the privilege to interview Frank Huth. Frank was drafted July 8, 1963, at age 23. Frank will now tell us about the first day he was drafted.
They gave us, we were sent to Omaha for physicals. That was the center for the draft at that time in our area.
Okay.
And they just gave you a regular physical, and that was just part of the procedure. Yeah, there's 250 of us, buck naked, standing there, a doctor in front and back, checking for hemorrhoids and ruptures. I mean, no privacy. Well, we were loaded up on the train then. Well, we were in Omaha, and they loaded us on a bus and took us to a train, and we went on a train down to Fort Leonard Wood.
Here is one interesting thing that happened to Frank while he was in the service.
And another experience I had, I mean, it's things that happened while he was in the service. I was in Omaha bus depot waiting to get on the bus to go to San Antonio, and a guy walked past me and spit at me. It did happen, but we were warned this could happen. A little country boy felt kind of out of place.
Frank will now tell us about basic training.
I went to Fort Leonard Wood to basic training, and I was home a week, and then I went to Omaha by bus, and then went to Fort Sam, Houston, Texas for dental tech training. And then we were there 8 weeks, and it was 80 degrees when we left Texas that night. And when we got to New York Harbor, it was 28 degrees, and the wind off that water waiting to get on the boat, we just froze. Well, we just went through the regular initiation in the Army. We would march like 15 miles some days, and you might get a ride back. We was on the field range shooting rifles. You had to be rated with your rifle accuracy, and mostly we marched, and they had classes for what you were supposed to do in warfare and so on, which would have been refined when you went to your next training post. No, it wasn't really hard because I was a farm boy and I was in shape, but there was some of the National Guard boys that were there that they would pass out when they were marching on these marches.
Here are some things that Frank did at tech training.
Learned to assist a dentist and take x-rays. It actually was a dental assistant school in 8 weeks. I was a dental assistant to a dentist. Ours was the 124th Medical Unit. We were a mobile unit, like if things really got rough in Vietnam, we would have been sent over there for medical help. And another interesting thing, I was in Fort Sam when President Kennedy was shot. We couldn't have any music on base or any place for 30 days. We were supposed to be mourning. And the day they buried him, we had to be out on the parade field at 7 o'clock, and we didn't get off there till 1 o'clock, standing all that time.
Here Frank will tell us about his 9-day boat ride to Germany.
And it was 9 days going over on a boat and 8 days coming back. That was scary. There was over 3,000 troops on that ship. They had poles, and they had beds on each side like this, 4 high. And the first night out, we hit a storm, and water went over the deck. For 3 days, we didn't get to go up on deck, and the ship would go and it'd go, just like it was going to fall apart. and everybody had a job, and I was fortunate. I had midnight KP, so when the guards and stuff came in, they could have snacks and stuff. Well, after they got through, I was washing dishes, and the water in the sink was going this way, and the boat was going this way, and I got sick. I was sick for 5 days. And I went up, and the 5th day I thought, well, I'll go up to mess hall and try to eat. Well, I got up there, and they got little things around the table so the trays don't slide off, little things along the edge. Well, I was sitting there eating, and all of a sudden the guy on the end barfed and come down the table. And to this day, like I took the family up to Okoboji a number of years ago, And I stand on that dock in the water and my stomach still just goes, so I do not go on water. Well, see, when we got there with the boat, they had this thing, you unloaded at midnight so people wouldn't know how many troops were coming in the country. Well, from there we rode a train for a day and a half, and it was night before when we got to where I was stationed at, and then they unloaded us. But they moved us around at night. And while I was over there in Germany, I was fortunate my dad had a brother and sister over there. They were about 250 miles away, so I got to visit them once a month. So it was a nice experience to meet them and see where my dad was born at. So it was interesting.
Frank will now tell us what the living conditions were like in Germany.
No, we lived in barracks. There was 6 of us in the room, and a communal shower, bathroom, and one unit had one hallway, and ours was a smaller unit, so we just had couple of rooms. You went to the dining hall. They had regular cooks to cook the dinner. They were trained. The food was all right, but it wasn't like Mom's. When they cook in bulk like that, it's hard.
Here are some of the fun things Frank and his friends did while deployed.
Well, we took a leave to Paris, France, which it was nice and interesting, but Paris is not a clean city back then. And then we took a week off and went to Luxembourg and Amsterdam and Holland and through there. Saw the countryside, and it's a beautiful country over there. But I would do everything all over again. I mean, I'm proud to have served my country.
Frank will now tell us what he learned from being in the service.
Taught me a lot of patience and learned that you had to get along with people no matter what. And there's good in everybody. Sometimes you wonder, but I mean, we all got along fine, and it was very interesting. I mean, we had Jewish boys, Catholics, and all this, some from the East Coast, West Coast, and you got kind of perspective of what their style of life was compared to yours, which I found out my life was pretty simple. Everybody has to make sacrifices of some sort. One thing they really don't want to let out, but the last week down there at Fort Sam, you were trained to be a field medic. And if there ever come along, you found somebody that you didn't think was going to make it, you were able, if you wanted to, you could give them a shot, put them to sleep. You wonder why some of these guys come back that are so messed up. You see all that stuff. I said I never would have been able to give anybody a shot because, there's always a chance that a miracle will happen. And you have to believe in that. I mean, a lot of this stuff never comes out. You never hear about it. But it's something that they should know. To me, you were asked to serve your country, and that's part of your duty of being an American citizen. I mean, you see where, like in Germany, the people live a lot different than we do, and we are so blessed.
Here, Frank tells us about his discharge.
Well, I got discharged, and we took a boat back from Germany to New York, and then they said that at that time the Mississippi was flooded over and you couldn't get over it, so I said I'm not taking another boat across the Mississippi, so I flew back to Sioux City.
Here, Frank will tell us how it felt to be back home from the service.
Well, it was nice to be home and be with family again. I mean, after you've been in the military, people don't realize it, but you've lived a different life, and it's a different life to come back home and live with your folks for a couple of years.
Thank you, Frank, for sharing your experience with me, and thank you for your service.
Frank, the modern history students gained some perspective from listening to your interview. As you said, we are blessed as American citizens, and one of our biggest blessings is the devoted service people who have worked to maintain our freedoms. Thank you for being one of those people, Frank. And next week, we look forward to hearing about Jay Wallace's service when he's interviewed by Drew Knapp.